Welcome, everyone, to another update meeting of the Saving the World Together podcast with Martin Rezny and Luke Macmichael. And we've got our special guest joining us today, Stuart Watt, coming back from a bit of a hiatus on the show. Having lots of fun connecting with him again. Welcome, Stuart. How are you doing? How's everything been going for you?
I'm good.
You've been working on a new business yourself lately, hey, with the whole wedding enterprise. How's it coming? Any progress?
Yeah, we've decided to make the church into a home now.
Oh, okay.
So
interesting. Makes sense. Yeah, the market wasn't quite big enough for the wedding industry in that area, or you just decided it's easier to sell it as a home?
Yeah, we're just not sure we want to run that type of business.
Makes sense. Cool.
Yeah.
Any other businesses that you've got on the works or anything, or any other ideas? You just decided you wanted to kind of hear what we were up to and see what was going on?
Yeah, catch up, see how things are going.
Excellent. Right on. So, Martin, what do you think? Where should we start with Stuart today? We've got definitely a lot of updates. I thought it'd be a lot of fun to just kind of go over things that from our perspective. Is there anything you wanted to kind of touch on first before I jump into all of my stuff?
Well, I could leave it to you this time. I guess you know Stuart best. You probably know better what might be interesting to him.
Yeah. So when we started this podcast 5 years ago, we kind of started with just a whole bunch of random ideas, right? Just how to save the world together. Martin and I met for almost 2 years, just the two of us, I think, and we kind of got through all those ideas. So, all those things are kind of on the podcast. We've got, I think, 60 or 70 videos that go back 5 years almost about any topics that people are interested in. I think the biggest views we ever got was maybe 2,000. Do you remember the biggest one, Martin? Was it the one about truth or something, maybe? But I had to go back and look at the stats a bit.
I think one of the one about aliens.
Got quite a few
number of views.
A couple of thousand. I have to try to break that.
Happened a couple of times. It happened several times.
But we did have, at least 50 to 55 kind of individuals after the first couple of year mark. We started bringing on random people. Stuart, I think we had you on at least once, maybe twice on the podcast. And we were able to meet lots of really interesting individuals. Jeff Grobert from AFIRS was one of the fun ones. And then
the Golden Door Foundation people basically decided they want us to interview everybody.
Yes. So we did at least 15 interviews with the Golden Door Foundation, and those were all a lot of fun. They're still pushing forward with they're really focused on intentional communities, mostly in Africa and like third world kind of areas where they kind of raise funding to get intentional communities, usually based around education or organic farming or a variety of other.
But also a bunch of authors. They had this whole award for authors, and very diverse group, like from like poets or like some spiritual people to more like strategist, sort of future business planning people.
Yeah, they have an award ceremony, I think, every year, the Golden Door Awards that it's over in Singapore. They're based in Singapore, but and they give awards to all the kind of best ideas and best books around the world for ingenuity and again, similar to what we're doing, changing the world or saving the world or making the world a better place for all. So definitely want to submit our book when it's finally done at some point, when we finally get the second version of the Pillars of Protopia. So our first version, Saving the World, or Pillars of Utopia, was kind of my first book almost 5 years ago now, when I kind of finished most of it. And it's been kind of an editing stage. Never really went super big with publishing it, but it has been on our website for the last 5 years, and had several dozen people kind of read through it and offer comments of various kinds. So that was definitely fun. And now we're really focused on getting the second kind of version, which is more of a short story based thing. We've got, I think, 11, maybe nine short stories that kind of get all the 7 pillars of Protopia together in different ways and try to chart out our future from today until, about 500 years in the future or more. Hopefully we'll get to see some part of it enacted in our lifetimes and be able to kind of push forward with our goal. The first one is really focused on AI. Anytime in the next 5 to 15 years, as AI becomes a much bigger part of the world, how do we manage it? How do we keep it aligned with humanity? So a couple of the books go 50 or 100 years out to show kind of how AI could have taken over but didn't, and how we need to really be vigilant as people to kind of work with it, make sure that we keep humanity in the loop. We don't ever become completely useless. So that's a big story. I can't remember, Stuart, have you read any of the stories? I think I might have shared a few of them with you at one point. You haven't read any of them recently?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, that's definitely something that if you're interested in, we can definitely use your feedback for sure. I think, Martin, how many of them are done right now or close to done? I think about 5.
Well, complete at least like as a complete draft would be the one about the poet, one about Laura and maybe aliens, and one about the Gabrielle the journalist and the Truth Works. So definitely those 3 I think are complete. Am I forgetting what I've written? I think definitely these 3.
Circle back. Yeah. So basically, we just kind of finished one story, and we're going to go back and revise them all once all 9 are completed, to kind of make sure that the continuity and that they kind of reference each other as much or as little as needed to kind of.
I've already revised one of them after feedback substantially. So one of them is more like not the first draft, but the second draft at this point. Oh, and the one with Socrates. So 4 stories are complete.
And then the gaming one's kind of in decent progress. And then another big one, of course, is me building some version of intentional community here in Sault Ste. Marie at some point called Zootopia.
That's also partially written, a story about look in the future specifically. That's, I think going to be fun.
Me bringing all my best friends together for some kind of 55th birthday party, I think, or even 60th birthday party, when it makes sense, and just flying people in from all around the world.
What's the trope? The anti-Great Gatsby, or?
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. So assuming I can ever, take this off to the level where I've got tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars ready to just kind of implement all these ideas, right, one way or another. And I think that book is kind of focused a little bit on some kind of what do you call it? Fusion power,
energy source,
low energy nuclear reactions.
Yeah, that's actually technological or sci-fi wise is going to be a lot about solving the energy in the future.
Solving energy crisis, yeah. So I've always been optimistic that at some point we'll solve it. Stuart, you've obviously been very involved with my life as far as energy goes and all the renewable energy endeavors and all the other. How did 4X Energy ever end up? Did you kind of close it? Are you still doing it at all, or did it close off as a company?
No, I shut the business down. I just as I researched more about manufacturing a product and this product, and also the lifestyle I would have to live to grow the business, it wasn't really something I wanted for myself.
Yeah.
And also just the complexities, as well as like the ability to make something in Canada is very challenging with our professional trades and how expensive they are, accounting, lawyers. I could have pushed it more as like a group crowdfunding type thing. I did have a TikTok going where I got about 12,000 followers from the videos I was making. So I was starting to build a following, but I kind of rushed into building the product. I recognized that people were more interested in the idea than like the implementation. So once I started to build the prototype, people were kind of the opinion, okay, well, like, yeah, keep me updated. Like, let me know when you have a working prototype, and I want to stay there. Whereas before, when I was just selling the idea, it was more, oh, I think that's a good idea. It's something I want to invest in. Mm-hmm. So I jumped the gun on the prototype. So I jumped the gun on the launch, right?
Right.
And then later I just recognized that, like, typically in manufacturing, manufacturers are looking for what they call an MVP, a minimum viable product. So you're looking for something that is, like, it's not a toaster, a microwave, and an easy bake oven or something, right? Like, you're looking for something that just does one thing really well.
Yeah. And
my product was more aligned of bringing multiple products in together that kind of like the cost saving, and of doing it all at once. But then you run into the issues of properly sizing it for the consumer. Is it does it have enough heat? Does it not have enough heat? is there enough electricity, and having these various different models, you know.
Yeah.
Like if you could get a government behind you, then you could build something that would be for like a cookie cutter type home, like maybe in places of the world where everyone's house is, you know, 500 square feet, or you know, something that's very predictable. In North America, though, where most products are launched, the weather conditions, the sizing of the home, the insulation, all these various energy factors are so different amongst people that you need to have so many different versions of the product. It's not just one size fits all.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And if it's one size fits all, then it's just too expensive for like the typical consumer, right?
That makes sense. Well, that's a good thing. Oh, so go ahead.
Yeah. So I guess the one thing that I wanted to point out about what you guys are doing is like, there's, you know, in creating a following, there has to be a sort of like identity attached to it, right? Because effectively you're trying to, you know, take a vision that you have for the world and have people sort of adopt that, right? And so do you have a sort of identity statement or a sort of like, you know, first principles and ordinances of the gospel type?
Sure.
Ideas,
Yeah, absolutely.
you
And
know?
pretty much everything about our identity is based on the Pillars of Protopia, the 7 pillars. So that's all fairly well organized on our website. And we spent the first kind of year and a half really knocking that down. It's obviously very flexible, very customizable for any individual company or group, but it really just focuses on all those things: peace, poverty, pollution, progress, purpose, proof, and what's the last one? Prosperity. So they all kind of come together and they link together in different ways, which is that's really what the book was kind of based on, is highlighting this, you know, the pillars of Protopia in a way that can give us a vision for a better future and unite people in some way. And any one person can kind of zoom in on one pillar and say, that's the one I want to focus on. I want to focus on peace. I want to focus on poverty. I want to focus on some kind of UBI, which, you know, connects to all that, or purpose. I want to focus on.
So I guess my one observation is like, when I speak of identity, I speak of like, what is your message tell me about who I am, right? And this is so important because, like, you know, in any movement that is led by people, you know, there's a clear identity of who they are. If you're in the army, you have a core, you know, list of like, you know, it's first God, then country, then core, or first core, whatever they say. Or if you're a Mormon, then it's kind of like, I know that I'm a child of God and God is over here. And so it kind of tells me who I am in the universe, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And I think for like to start off with the identity mindset.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. So our identity would be, you know, citizens of Earth, right? Citizens of a united Earth is kind of our identity. Trying to
basically, if you want like a shortcut, like it's actually very Star Trekian. In the general idea, it's not nationalist. It's not even focusing on like divides like secular or believer. It's humanitarian, and it's about integrating people on the basis of like, you know, we're all people. And the Protop, I think the more identity thing that's unique to this is the Protopian part. I think if we were focused on explaining anything, any single thing, is the Protopian ideal. And the Protopian ideal is that like you believe that you can, by like incrementally trying to make the world better, you can do it, as opposed to utopian ideas or dystopian sort of just negative vibes about the future.
That it's never an all or nothing thing, right? It's a progression towards better. And that's really our focus, is each day getting up and finding that one thing that day that you want to do to make the world a little better, connecting with somebody else in some way to make that idea happen, to actually implement those small ideas one at a time, and to give people some hope that, you know, we are moving forward. We are finding ways to kind of prevent these disasters that we see happening around us, prevent the polarization. Anti-polarization is kind of a big part of it too, I think. Really just trying to bring...
it's anti-polarization, anti-nihilism.
Yeah. That's our identity for sure. for sure.
Okay, so what I would propose or just throwing out an idea here is like, in your discussions with people or me or anybody you bring into your podcast, is this concept of like, we are both the world that has been created for us, like we are experience the world that the universe has created, whether you believe in God or whether you believe in evolution or whatever it is you believe in. We are born into an environment that already exists. And likewise, the actions that we do and everything that we carry out in this lifetime is creating the world that other people are born into, right? So we're both the creator and we're also the created, in the sense that you know, myself, I'm creating, and you and everybody, whether it's through your actions, your inactions, you are creating.
The word I think for that is co-creators. Yeah.
Co-creating or manifesting our own destiny in that way, right? We're creating the world that we want.
Well, you have to be careful with the word manifesting, because it has there's so many connotations of, you know, like,
most of them are good.
whether it's vibrations and frequencies and everything else. But the essence of identity, and I think I think it's something that, you know, from my discussions with you guys that you've expressed, is that we are not just a part of the creation, we are the creation, right? So the creation is a collective effort by everybody, effort or apathy or, you know, whatever it is. It's our environment as humans exists because of everybody's collective effort, of which you are a part, right? So you, through your actions of, you know, how you treat other people, how you treat the environment, how you know, even purchase things like companies that you support or invest in, you are building a world that not only you will live in later in your life, but also that others, their thoughts and their ideas who've come before you, they have created this as well. So I like carrying this identity of being like one with the universe, in the sense of like, the environment that was created for us is also the environment that we create for others, is effectively at the core of our identity, right?
Right.
So as like, to come into our group, you know, one of the key principles is recognizing your identity and your importance in this process, right? That your actions or your inactions are creating the environment of which we are already in, right? So like, I give an example of like this church. This church that I'm renovating over here.
Oh wow, right? You're there. Nice.
It was built 150 years ago by Methodists, right?
Yeah.
But very much like I'm the one who owns it now, right? So I can also see it as like, these people built this church for me, even though they built it for God. It's now ended up in my hands, right? So likewise, when we go out and we create things in the world, you know, somebody along the way is going to look and recognize and say, wow, like what has been created is wonderful. It was created from the heart. It was created, even though I might not agree with the doctrines of the Methodist Church, I agree with the heart behind it, of people wanting to come together to build something beautiful, to put their hard labor and their effort and their money and their sacrifice into something for what they believed, right? And so this is a core part of any type of, like, when you said citizens of Earth, I have to criticize the word citizenship a little bit, because a citizen is somebody within and like an actual like organized government, right?
Sure.
And so to say that you're a citizen of the earth, well, I don't have a citizenship record. I don't have any citizenship benefits of like welfare or other things. I have citizenship benefits from Canada.
Yeah.
You know, I have protection from the military. I have protection.
That phrase isn't so much about the benefits. It's about focus on the civic duty. I think the people who say that kind of phrase, meaning that like what that means is that you feel like you have a responsibility.
A responsibility, but I also do as a citizen, I do receive benefits. It's like it's a social contract, right?
Well,
I try to keep.
Sure, yeah, but like in normal legalistic usage.
We're definitely hoping to create that. You know, we're early in the movement towards, I guess, UN citizenship of some kind, United Nations nationality. We definitely hope, you know, as part of our goal to bring the world to a state where we're ready for some kind of worldwide citizenship. Worldwide universal basic incomes is a huge part of our kind of efforts to understand what that would look like. How do we help with that movement?
But I really like the co-creator narrative. That I think that's a very good way to put it.
Sorry, go ahead, Martin.
Yeah, I really like the co-creator narrative. I think that's a really good way of putting it. I think you really nailed it with that one. That like so what you create, other people will have to live in, kind of message.
What you create, other people have to live in, and we are all offspring of this universe. Whether whatever belief that you believe, we are all a creation of this, right? So whether it was the Big Bang creating everything, or whether it was an intelligent creator, those things we can set aside, because we're not looking to get into a strict moral guideline of like, this is how you should behave in teaching you, you know, should you do this on a Sunday, or should you, purchase from this company? I was like, the idea is not top down authoritarian rule. The idea is first, like by identifying, and what you have to understand is that words are spells. That's why we spell them, but they cast spells upon us, right? And words create identity. So if you throw out a term like citizen doesn't really it's not a clear like way of identifying it, because there's no government involved, right? So yes, it's like if you consider yourself a citizen, you're adopting that, but at the same time, it's confusing.
No, I think you're right. I think actually the closer might be something that the co-creator, I think, would be the best word going forward, because it's actually closer to, in a way, like in that Lego movie, the master builder ethos, which you're basically saying that like I sort of also like the creation double meaning thing, because basically we specifically don't want to waste energy on that believers versus non-believers divide or polarization. And so if you say that like, yeah, sure, like regardless of whether there was a specific creator or not at the beginning, the fact is we are creators.
Exactly. That's the point. We don't have to agree on the specific name of God, the specific scientific backing. We can all look at this one simple truth and recognize that we create the world that others experience, and others who've come before us have created the world. And you can use a simple story like imagine like Martin, you're my father and I'm your son, okay? Or vice versa, all right? And it's just the two of us, and we're hanging out in the wilderness, okay? The father creates the reality for the child, right? So the father says, "Oh, don't go to that cave. Like, there's bears there." So then I understand, okay, I don't go to that cave. There might not be bears, but in this reality, in this isolated, anecdotal story, the father is creating the reality for the child, right? And likewise, we have all been given that sort of father. We've been born into an existing set of morals and an existing set of identity, whether
a story.
A story. We've all been born into that's exactly right. We've been born into a story, right?
Right.
So the key is recognizing that story is not a perfect story. Like, we've been told many things, and some things we realize, oh, okay, this isn't as important as people told me. Like, maybe there aren't bears in this cave, or maybe we can go in there and we can investigate. But regardless, recognizing this dynamic that we in the world are creating a reality for other people, whether we like it or not. When we go to the store and how we treat somebody, just at the cash, like in their world, from their point of view, we exist as part of their story, right? So this word that you said, Martin, is something that was right on my mind, was that story is like, our lives effectively are a story. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and the end. We all know this, right? But that story, again, it's been given to us, and we in turn, we're going to give that story to somebody else.
Yeah.
Right. We're going to create for that person. We're going to create for that, future great grandchildren or whatever. We're going to create a heaven, or we're going to create a living heaven or a living hell for them based on our actions. Right?
Yeah, it certainly seems based on current events, like creating a living hell is entirely possible in a very rapid span of time.
Yeah, it is, and creating a heaven is also like, many people are experiencing heaven just because they have people that love them. They're safe. They're happy, they're going to have trials or whatever. And all of us have kind of experienced that through childhood, because when we first grow up, we don't really know like good from evil. We don't really know what's right and wrong. We don't know if this is how the way it should be. Right. And so we experience this sort of innocence. Right. And so I guess what I'm saying is like, and I think I've made my point, but starting with this concept of identity, right? And really outlining that and saying, do you, like, Luke, do you agree that we're all co-creators? Martin, do you agree that we're co-creators? Do you believe, do you see how you are creating a reality for another living person at this moment?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And then if you like starting from this sort of principle, you can have a sort of foundation and an identity that you can build off of, right? Because from that identity, when somebody can embrace this sort of an identity, like this is the whole concept behind religion, is that you're embracing the identity of Christ or whatever, with Jesus and like Christian theology. But the issues I have around that is that typically you're not really embracing the identity of Christ. You're embracing the identity of the religion, right?
Yeah.
You're embracing the morals that they've sort of dictated
or adopted over time. But yeah, it's definitely complicated. It's never simple and easy to kind of have your own identity, your own world that's kind of, I guess, separate but different from all these other concepts out there of identity and religion and politics and all these other things. So our goal is really, as much as possible, to unite those identities. Really, I know it's very hard. It's an extremely complicated goal that we've kind of set for ourselves, to bring the world together, one person at a time in some small way, to agree that yes, we are the creators. We are creating our story. Let's make it the best story possible.
Yeah, let's say Protopian wise, let's make it a good one. At least doesn't have to be like the best story ever told, but like at least like with the current events, again, it's like if somebody can very quickly through their like specific choices makes the situation in the world much worse, then it follows that if you just use that energy in the opposite way, you could just fairly quickly make things significantly better. It's like you can't have one capacity but not the other capacity.
So that being said, one of the things I enjoy most about doing this podcast is really just about understanding all the different technologies and progressions out there that kind of have, I guess, the most hope or the most benefits for humanity to create the best story possible, to create a better and better world going forward. So I really enjoy that. Every day I'm kind of reading the news. Every day I'm kind of getting updated on, progress of all these favorite technologies of mine. And I'm just kind of waiting to see what kind of makes the biggest change the fastest, that I can kind of jump in. So one of these is obviously the company that we're working with now, Cogency.
Yeah, Cogency with an S. But I actually would like to say it's sort of funny, like as soon as we started writing it down as the story for the book, like some of the specific things about the AI that I've written in the stories, unsuspecting, very soon, like I got randomly, seemingly, into a position where I found an investor who's willing to back my ideas to develop these kinds of things. So even before finishing the book, like after writing like half of it, I'm in the position to start developing some of the technologies that I imagined by writing it. Like literally figured out also how to start actually making them, particularly in the AI area. So it's sort of interesting. And Cogency is like just happened also coincidentally at the same time. Nova McCord from New Zealand decided that we need to resume the project that we were working on about 2 years ago. But right now, also like just by the shift of perspective of how we're thinking now, like right now it makes a lot more sense, the project that we were making than 2 years ago. And now we know exactly what it is for. So it's interesting how if we just like try to make it a story, it sort of starts being created at the same time in reality.
So just a brief update for Stuart or anybody else who may be watching this is the Cogency. It's really focused on cooperative generative systems to kind of connect people in a way that they can debate ideas, come up with new ideas, and kind of vote on different ideas on how to make the world better. Or it could be anything. It could be within a company, could be within a political group or a religious group, to kind of each person where they toss ideas, toss things against the wall in real time, in a group of anywhere from hundreds to thousands to tens of millions of people, ideally. And we can kind of see a certain number of ideas at a time, ideally the ideas that you're most interested in seeing, sorted somehow. And then you can kind of upvote or downvote things as we go, and things that get the most upvotes or supports can kind of be seen by more people.
What if you made a social medium that is technologically designed to maximize constructiveness of the communication, as opposed to on like many technical levels, as opposed to just
you're trying to filter through a lot of the trolling kind of things of current social media and try to really get through to ideas that can resonate and build upon each other. And again, do it in real time, where you're not just posting against the wall and having thousands of people see it over the next few months. You're doing it with a specific number of people that are watching it right now and are voting on it right now to try to figure out what's the best idea for this particular question to move forward together. So that's the main concept anyway, and we're definitely evolving how it's going to go and trying to make it as fun and interesting as possible to just get more groups involved. So we've already got several interested groups in kind of working with the prototype, and we'll see where things evolve. But that's kind of one of our main focuses now, is seeing where this Cogency company kind of takes us as a group and find ways to unite other groups together using this tool, and can end up being a major platform for the saving the world together ideals, as you know, Pillars of Protopia and Pillars of Protopia go, to spread those ideas and spread those kinds of companies around the world.
And simultaneously, I got funding here in the Czech Republic to develop my ideas on basically astrology-inspired software, meaning that like you take what's sort of interesting algorithmically about those ancient codes and systems, and you can use that, actually figure it out and apply it in a bunch of different ways to make a software that has capabilities that other systems don't have, because of just like basically math reasons. So that simultaneously I'm developing that, while also another friend here in the Czech Republic, I'm also in the with the game studio developing a game, like a story universe and mobile game specifically, but also card game and related sort of games kind of stuff. And my co-author there, also simultaneously, synchronistically at the same time, is now ending up in a position where he, based on some sort of state funding, would be also in charge of developing yet another type of application, which will be focused on basically popularizing like how to like teach people how to be prepared for crisis situations, which is also a part of what I specifically wrote about in one of our pillars, just that he wasn't even aware of. So he would also want me to be involved there with the ideas that we've already created, while just talking with Luke about how to make that happen. So it's just like exploding right now.
That's the protecting prosperity pillar, the very last one that kind of unites all of them together and protects our world from global disasters.
Yeah, and also S-Gears, the one about preventing catastrophes in the future based on new technologies and stuff.
Yeah.
And hazards.
Yeah, so we've come a long way. And, in the 5 years Martin and I have kind of been doing this, it's been a lot of fun, really just enjoying progressing one day at a time and learning as we go. So that being said, Stuart, are there any other interesting technologies or ideas that you've kind of had in the last, a little while since we've had a chance to talk about it? Is there anything you're excited about as far as the future? What are you most passionate about right now?
Well, I'm definitely excited about AI. It's pretty amazing. Just having unlimited information and knowledge really at your fingertips. It will be liberating for many to be able to, represent themselves legally or build something or look up codes or create, like I create music with AI and, just people have a much it's like the best tool that we have right now. We've used tools have shaped humanity, over the years. And this tool is like all the tools combined almost, it's not a physical tool in the sense that, we can go build stuff, although it will when it's integrated with robots and other things.
Yeah.
But it's a knowledge tool, and knowledge is power, really. Being able to learn and being able to understand and have critical thinking and being able to research at the tip of your fingers is, phenomenal power that's not being held back by, a king or a government or something, right?
What's your
so far until Elon lobotomizes it.
What's your personal opinion on the whole AGI debate, singularity, or when artificial intelligence becomes kind of better, stronger, smarter than humanity at just about everything? Do you think that's coming anytime soon in the next decade or two, or is that just a pie in the sky and never going to actually happen?
I think it already is in many instances, right? Just by sheer speed, right? In the matter of like 3 or 4 weeks, I was able to create over 20 songs, which in traditional songwriting, you'd need to go through all the lyrics and every single song. You'd have to come up with a melody and a rhythm and a beat and everything else. And if you don't like it, you can chop it or whatever. But it's really like, I don't really fully grasp the concept of AGI in the sense of like, how do you measure that it's better than humans in every single possible way? Like, I suppose if there was a war between man and machine, then whoever wins would be the real winner, right?
Yeah.
Whoever could outwit the other person or the other being, so to speak.
We obviously don't want to test it that way if we can avoid it. We'd like to preempt that if possible. But you're right.
Yeah, but even in things that like chess, artificial intelligence has overtaken the greatest thinkers in the realm of chess for probably a decade or more.
I think for me, one of the biggest kind of telltale signs, I guess, is number of jobs, percentage wise, that are being done by AI and will always be done by AI. And the percentage is kind of slowly creeping up on us. They always say we'll create new jobs that only humans can do, but I think this time it feels different. It feels like humanity really has to find another purpose beyond just working, working for a living or working for food. We've got to find a different path forward that give us something. And that's, again, one of our big focuses in creating this new world, is to ensure that humans always have a purpose of some kind or a community of some kind to get behind, even when they've lost their identity from their work, when they're no longer required for work. And we have all that we want and then some from the robots and the AI doing all the work for us. we have to reinvent ourselves in a major way.
Yeah, but just technically speaking, the testing of this is very difficult, probably mainly because if you do tests like benchmarks that they are doing now, that like, oh, I'm better at, and it's usually like a game or like a questionnaire or like or solving like a visual puzzle or something like that.
Yeah.
When you're doing these kinds of things, those are very bounded problems. That one of the criticisms was that actually the testing was for a long time based on basically just memory. That like it already knew the solutions from learning them from the corpus of the information it was training on. So then the new level of these tests is supposed to be that it's not based on previously known solutions that it could have learned from anywhere. So that's slightly better. But even then, it's still very bounded problems. And the real intelligence, I suspect, is more transcending that, in that it's like sort of the most intelligent people aren't the people who are like the most useful tools. Like the autistic person who just can do one thing really well, or a certain category of things really well, and always does what they're told. It's like usually considered that the higher levels of intelligence are more like understanding, like whether the thing that you're doing is a thing you should be doing at all, or understanding what even is the problem. And that's very difficult to set a test for, because once you set a test for something, it will be based on you specifically defining what the problem is and how it is supposed to be solved and sticking to it. And that always feels like there's actually a lower level of intelligence than the peak of human intelligence, if that makes sense. So I'm not sure like how you would actually test it on the highest level, other than, like you said, in essentially combat.
Yeah, well, so some of the basic tests that I think will be kind of accomplished soon is take this novel and turn it into a short story or a movie. Basically just give it that prompt and let it kind of create a movie all on its own. And if that movie is kind of good enough to warrant, even a small number of people watching it, like you can basically make an industry around something. That's just a small example of something that is probably coming very soon.
It would still be kind of a benchmark. It is still the sort of quantified, limited benchmark approach where, sure, you can probably develop system to achieve a particular outcome that's quantifiable. That's definitely possible.
Let's take this issue that you just brought up, Martin, about how intelligence is being able to identify truly what the problem is and being able to provide the right tools, or to be able to solve the problem like that is actually present. As opposed to just using tools that are available that aren't working, or and being really good at it, right? And apply that to what it feels like you guys are after. I mean, at the end of the day, I get the feeling that both of you really want to make change in the world. You want to do it together. It seems like you want to build a community, possibly a company, create tools for people to meet. But the real heart of that question of how do you get from here to there is finding out, at the core, what is it that has stopped humans from doing that already, right? Like, what is it about human ideology and human psychology that kind of keeps us in this sort of, battle of the nations and battle of identities and battle of ideologies, right? And at the core of all of this, what I believe the question and the answer is really about identity, right? Because at the core of identity, like if I come to you and I say, hey, do you want to have a smoke, right? If you identify as not smoking, you wouldn't even consider it, right? Okay. Because it's just like I'm not a smoker. You know what I mean? Yeah. No, sorry, I don't smoke, right? There's no question, there's no thought to even smoke. You've already decided that you don't do it, right? And that at the core is an identity question, okay, right? And so I think a stumbling block or a roadblock or a stepping stone, the first stepping stone, is to solidify what that identity is and to build it off of clear, observable truths that anybody with a logical mind can just simply see without having to investigate further. Oh, I need to research that.
Sure.
Right. So, you know, like you've come up, you know, you've basically stated, you know, a great way of identifying is recognizing that we're all co-creators of the reality that is experienced by all of us. Right. And if you can start with that identity and you can find people that at least can agree with the foundation of this sort of like collective identity that anybody in any religion, anybody in any piece of any part of the world, if they can adopt this concept that regardless of how I believe, how God, you know, God or the universe or everything, whatever is created, or my nationality or my gender identity, or my race, I can say, yes, I see now that the world that's been created for me was created by somebody just like me, somebody who refused to act, somebody who acted in good, or you might not want to use the word good or evil because it has sort of a religious connotation, but somebody who either sought to destroy something or somebody who sought to create something. You know,
and that's a much more solid distinction, creation, destruction. That's a much better divide that's also immediately understandable.
I mean, protopianism is the key word here, and I guess it's just progressing towards better is a very simple way of
this other simple slogan.
What does a better world look like to us, and how do we agree on what's better?
No, but I do agree. I do agree with Stuart. I actually do be nice, because that's the thing. Like, so far, we haven't actually specifically targeted our, let's say, message or platform to maximize like a mass appeal. What we've done so far is that we've attracted a smaller number of people who are like very like sort of high level people who would be interested in like contributing really good ideas or working on something to actually improve things. Sort of starting to actually do something, like to have something to offer that's a real tangible thing to begin with before like sort of going big. But now it sort of starts being the time to really start thinking about going big, now that we have established that we can actually produce something. And what you are talking about, that actually is an important problem. And I think what we've started developing in these companies right now is actually part of the solution, but on a technological level. Because there are some like sort of interestingly also largely inspired in ancient arts and philosophies, actually, is that like what you basically need to do, like the identitarianism as such really is the problem. And that's currently what everybody's fueling with how the social media are set up, fueling this sort of like dividing by identity kind of thing, and specifically maximizing the misunderstanding of the other. Because sort of for you to maintain sort of a hostile, sort of polarized identity towards somebody, you really need to misunderstand who they are. Because like the more you actually understand that they're just like you, the less sort of the fact that you technically have a different identity is important. And so in the technical sphere with AI, actually, we sort of realized that like both inspired by basically the art of debating for the Cogency app, and what I'm going to develop with sort of inspired by astrology, which is basically a lot about the sort of philosophy of personality. So what you would be doing like there for the AI is that like you can actually create systems that would enable the alignment between the AI and the people by giving the tools to the AI to actually understand people in qualitative terms and build its sort of matrices around that. But the funny thing is, as soon as you have these tools for the alignment between AI and the humans, you also created tools for the alignment between humans and humans. Because you would give people the tools and systems to more easily understand the other and engage constructively with them. So the alignment is like sort of the angle of the problem that we're sort of tackling, both AI human and human human in terms of like system, because the current systems we have are exactly the wrong kind of system. Like the social media have been designed to be the worst opposite kind of thing imaginable, and that's not like a given of technology, that's a choice. So I think like counteracting that technologically is also a part of the solution.
Okay, so did you want to say something, Luke?
No, just talk. Great discussion. I basically have challenge to leave you with at the end, Stuart, but let's continue this discussion. But if you have to go, or if your timing is coming, just let us know and we can kind of wrap things up for today. But
no, it's just my battery was dying, so I had to plug it in.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, so I guess something I'd really like to talk about today is just to kind of figure out, the three of us, I mean, we've kind of been on this similar path. Stuart and I have been on a variety of paths together, and we've had a lot of progress over the years, I think, individually and together, to kind of figure out what world we want to build for ourselves and for our future. So I'm curious, Stuart, is this something, are you ready at this point in your life to kind of get involved in a bigger way and help us build this identity together as a joint effort?
Well, I'm interested, because there's obviously a lot of heart here. You guys have been doing this for 5 years. You've been going out through all these various ideas and everything, and working on various stories to express this. And where I think, I could help is, I read a lot in philosophy and psychology and human nature and meaning of life and religious texts and so on. And what I see is missing here, and it's something that we've talked about today and we've all agreed on, is that, we're co-creators in the reality that we make for other people, and everybody has come before us as co-creators. And so where I see the biggest progression that can be made is to have a core identity of who you are as a group of people. Right now, it's the two of you that are doing this, and I'm joining in, this conversation. And if you can start with an identity. Now, you, Luke, you mentioned Protopian. Okay, yeah. To me, that's a little bit confusing because you have to provide an explanation, right? So when you say the identity is Protopian, well, okay, I need to know what that is. So if that is the sort of moniker or the name that you want to attach to this sort of identity, and when I say identity, it's just something, when we show up to this meeting, I know, if we say, okay, we're co-creators, I know I'm sitting here talking to somebody who at the core of their identity understands this one simple truth, that we create the reality for the external world. We are part of that. We are part of the meaning of what it means to be a human. That what it means to be a human is not yet defined, right? If you're in a tribe somewhere and you don't know about the outside world, and all you know is about your hunter-gatherer tribe, which, there's still these tribes on the planet, your meaning is really just part of whatever that tribe is, right? And so I really solidifying an identity that when we show up to the table, I'm looking at you and you're looking at me, and somebody else who's in the podcast is looking at each other. I don't have to question how you see the world, and you don't have to question how I see the world. At the most fundamental, baseline principle, right? It's sort of like a foundation, a building block. Okay. Because. Yeah, sure. I mean, and
I agree with your saying.
No, technically, okay. Let's say what it would require practically. So practically, this is about writing some sort of manifesto document where the story, basically, as you put it, is formulated, and also sort of thinking about, sort of in marketing terms, I guess, if you wanted to explain it technically, how to communicate various things through the lens of that kind of story. And so. If just by you just saying that, I'm definitely incorporating that stuff in the book that I'm writing now. Actually, there would be exactly the right fit for that in the game story, which is the one that I'm writing right now, because it's about building the world together specifically is exactly what that story is supposed to be about. So this is also great timing. So I'm definitely going to going forward, I guess, sort of we can agree that we're going to start using that. But if you want to specifically create something like that would be incredibly helpful, and would be great if it was actually done by somebody other than the two of us. also. So as an example.
Yeah, well, just from what you just said, Stuart, one of our major goals would be to bring the Protopian word into the common vocabulary, because everyone knows utopia, everyone knows dystopia. We've got to get protopia out there as a concept. What does it mean? Progressing towards a better world. In simple layman's terms, that's kind of what it means. But what exactly does it mean? And like you said, what's the identity around protopianism? And making it so that people can understand that. And that might be something more people want to be a part of if we can kind of clarify.
Sure, but like it's not mutually exclusive to some extent. It's layers.
Yeah.
So I guess the criticism I have of this, or my observation, I should say, is that I think protopian is more like for instance, let's use religion as a backdrop for ideology and understanding. So when we look at religions, they all point to heaven, right? And that's what I see when you say, okay, protopian, is that you're kind of saying like that's the outcome, right? Or like
no, not at all. You're misunderstanding if that's what you think. It's the opposite of that. Utopia would be the outcome. That's the utopian vision. Heaven is kind of very much synonymous with utopia in many ways.
In sci-fi.
But it's kind of like the no space. You sit on a cloud and you play your harp. You don't really know what it is. It's just like the perfect world or whatever, utopian world. Protopian is completely different from that in a way that it is today. Today we live in a protopian world that we're progressing each day towards making that world a little bit better, like the Scouts motto.
It's a process.
You clean it up a little bit. That's a protopian effort. And we live in a protopian world today that's as good as we want to make it today. And we're creating it today.
Okay, so I like the word, but the issue is that I don't think that can be used as an identity. Like if I were to call myself a protopian, right? Because it doesn't speak specifically about who I am. It more speaks specifically about what I want to achieve.
Well, it is an ideology, technically. It's not identity.
Like the two things are linked, but you have the thing about identity is it gives you a place in the universe and explains sort of like, who you are or what you are, you know what I mean? Or what the world is around you.
Do you think we need to create like a new word for what we're trying to do? Like just based on this basic conversation you've had with us, is there some way you would describe our identity, that's beyond protopian or more than protopian? Is there a better word or a better way to describe it?
So again, my issue, Luke, is not with the word itself.
Yeah.
Right. It's more with the classification of the word.
Okay.
Right. So when I hear protopian, I think more of like what I'm doing, which as a Christian, it might be getting baptized and going to church and doing good to others or whatever the dictates of my belief system are. Right. Whereas the actual identity itself is more describing where you exist in the world. Right. So starting at the identity, right? The identity is more about a story and explanation about the reality we all experience and the reality we all co-create, right?
Okay.
So regardless of what religion you are, okay, you are a co-creator of reality for other people and for yourself, right? It doesn't matter what religion you are. Like this is a very easily recognizable truth. By looking out into the outside world, we can recognize that no matter how you identify your religious, your race, your nationality, and so on, you are part of the human experience. For other people, for us, you are part of the creator of what it means to be a human.
Okay, so are you saying that the co-creator, being a co-creator and understanding what that means is an identity? Are you saying that that's kind of an identity?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying is that starting with an identity that it's basically like, if we show up to do a debate and we have different ideas of what abortion means, we can't really have an argument of whether it's good or bad. We first have to decide, are we talking abortion is that birth control? Is that like plan B? Is that abortion after 3 weeks, 6 weeks, the day before the baby's born? Or if the baby's born, they can still abort if they haven't like slapped the baby. Like, we have to agree on something before we can start debating the other parts of it.
Sure.
Right. And so the concept is really to bring people like in, because to build anything, you have to have minds, you have to have talent, you have to have volunteers, you have to have people who are willing to put their heart and their energy into something that they want to activate inside them, to get all of the beautiful chemicals that we get from participating in community and everything else, dopamine and serotonin and all these wonderful things that we all need as humans, right? To get those things, a starting place is identity.
Okay.
Right. And so clearly defining and explaining that, like if I was a stranger and I was coming into your meeting because I was invited by you, Luke, or me, or Martin, one of the first things we want to talk about is identity.
Right. Our mission statement or our identity statement.
You can give a little history of, we've been talking about creating a better world, and we've been looking at all these things, and it's something we've been discussing. And one of the things that we realized was that before we can do that, we really have to look at what we are as people, what we are as, what's going on in this world.
Sure.
Right.
Okay. I like
and
that.
What we've come up with and what we see as just a verifiable truth. It requires no outside evidence. It requires no reference to scripture. It requires no authority of a prophet or anybody else. Is that we all, regardless of where we came from, whether it was God or whether it was evolution or everything, we know this one truth. We know that we are part of the created reality of others.
Yeah, okay.
We're built on a foundation of people who have created reality for us, of where we stand in time. And we, through our actions or our interactions or our apathy or through our deceit and our evil doing, or our wrongdoings, or harming other people or building things, we are creating the experience that they have as a human.
Okay.
Right. And so this is like a sort of little story that you can introduce to people and say, would you agree? Or, how do you feel about what I said? Or, has there been people who have created a good reality for you in the world?
I like that.
You know what I mean?
Let me just toss another quick idea out there, because I like the way this is going. So, Stuart, have we talked about the Game B Society stuff before? Do you remember when I brought that up? Or okay, let me just toss that out there again, because I think it's very interesting in creating this identity. So the Game A Society is basically everything up till now focused on competition, capitalism, kind of the world as we currently know it, where everyone's fighting for resources, fighting for scarce resources, and just trying to kind of overcome all the hurdles in front of us, but not necessarily working together as much as we could or should. Whereas the Game B Society is the transition towards our future ideal, our Protopian ideal, where cooperation is much more important than competitiveness. You'll still have some competition. Obviously, we still want sports and games and fun things like that very much to be part of our world.
The technical term for that is co-opetition. There's a framework for combining, competing, and cooperating.
Yeah, but it's focused much more in a world where scarcity is no longer as big an issue. We've kind of solved most of the food problems and most of the, money problems of the world through AI and automation and all these other great things. And now our goal as a society becomes, what's the new game? We've kind of beaten the old Game A to some extent, and we've kind of got to create a brand new game going forward to keep us engaged and entertained and interested in this future identity of what it means to be human. And it's changing, and we're co-creating this Game B society together. So that's it. There's a really good one online, so I recommend anyone who's watching this go and learn about Game B societies a little bit, because there's a really good I think it's a 20-minute video that's very cute to watch, that kind of explains the transition from Game A to Game B and what that actually means. There's already groups of thousands of people working together to kind of build Game B companies and Game B ideals, Game B identities going forward. So that's very much a big part of the Protopian ideals as well. So lots of fun. I definitely like this as an idea, though, as far as trying to figure out what our role is in this transition from Game A to Game B, from, you know, capitalism and all the other isms to kind of a new humanitarianism, protopianism, you know, better world that can be better for everybody, and that we can all agree this is what the world we want to build together looks like. All right.
Yeah, I mean, it's yeah. I don't know how long you guys wanted to meet, but
this is great, Stuart. Well, I think this is a great spot to kind of bring it to a close for today, I think. Thank you so much for joining us. You've definitely given me a lot to think about. Is this something you're interested in doing, you know, bi-weekly, monthly, weekly with us? What's your schedule like? Is it something you want to kind of make a priority for you right now?
Well, like 2 o'clock's not the best time, but I made time today because the weather's kind of bad, and but you know, I thought more evening in the evening, but I understand, Martin, you're at a different time zone, so it's probably evening there for you.
Yeah,
probably,
9 p.m.
Yeah, we can typically go 5 to 6 p.m.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to.
Better.
Definitely, I'd like to join. You know, join you again.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, I just think that the stepping stone, I think that's missing is really narrowing down what this identity is, and then you each have mentioned various things that are extensions of that identity, you know, which are very simple, like easily identifiable. You know, recognizing that I'm a co-creator also means that you know, Martin, you came up with a few points there and some stories that we was trying to remember what you said, but and Luke, you mentioned it as well about, you know, what this means for in the future. But effectively, start with a foundation, and then you can build off of various principles of what this also means. I mean, you can say, you know, well, one of the things that we co-created is the environment that we live in, right?
Great.
And so
Yeah.
understanding that this creation stems from the answers and
You're breaking up a bit, Stuart. Is it internet connection or?
And
Come back.
yeah, it's probably my internet.
Okay.
But effectively, like that as a foundation of identity, and then building off of that in various parts. Now, an issue, you know, one of the concerns is really like, you know, dictating how people should think about that, right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you have hard, fast, if your mind is made up hard and fast on certain items like climate change or like AI or fascist governments or, you know, this sort of thing, then what can come across is that, okay, well, now you're just deciding the right way to have a government, the right way to look at climate change, the right way to look at this and that, right? And so, you know, you have to ask yourself, do you want to narrow that down so that this is only a group that supports these particular ways of thinking, or is it still an inclusive group that says, okay, at the core of what we're talking about here starts with this foundation of identity, right?
Yeah, we definitely want to be inclusive as possible.
We also
absolutely.
welcome, exactly. We welcome people who are climate skeptics, and we welcome people who are climate scientists, right? We welcome people who, you know, have this idea and this idea, but at the end of the day, the thing that brings us together is we recognize that and that's where the debate can happen, is when we first have that foundation of identity, and then we can debate and say, yeah, I'm a co-creator, but I also believe in climate change. I'm a co-creator, but I believe that climate change is all about government control and taxation and so on. So that's, you know, you have to decide whether or not you want to be the person to draw the line in the sand on those ideas, or do you want to start with identity and then build off of known truths that we can all agree on, right? But even if you and I don't believe if we don't agree on climate change
specifics,
with the identity of being a co-creator, we should be able to agree that we create the environments around us.
Right.
Right. We are co-creators in our environment, both with individuals and with the natural environment.
Exactly. Yeah, we want to try to minimize toxic environments in any way, both mental and physical. Minimize the negative pollution in our world.
So
no, I like that a lot.
That's my little tidbits.
No, I think you just started a popular movement that the history books will know as co-creativism.
Co-creativism. Stuart, coming up with words is very hard, and we took years to come up with the protopian word as a concept. But you're right; like we have to kind of keep making it better, keep evolving it, keep making it something that's catchy and easy to kind of share, but also different and unique in some way, right? Where it's not just the same thing.
I'm not saying you throw out protopian. I mean, that can be part of the building blocks. So
it's more for like the academic layer of the discussions.
Yeah.
I mean, protopian can be part of the idea, right?
Yeah, it's just getting that identity down. All right, Martin. So we got to work it out there. Let's maybe meet again in 2 to 3 weeks, Stuart. We'll set something up that's hopefully a better time for you. We can kind of think about it and revisit it and come back. But I like this as a direction. And are you okay with us posting this on the podcast? I think it's actually a pretty good update for kind of our hiatus. Are you all right with that? Or
I'm good.
Okay, right on. I think this is good, Martin. Anyone who's watching this, please reach out to us if you're interested in any of these ideas. If you're interested in getting involved with creating the protopian identity and making it clearer and better for everyone that wants to join in this movement going forward. And thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Let's save the world together. Thanks, Stuart. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks.